English is becoming a global lingua franca not just for trade, industry, tourism, research, and entertainment, but also for higher education. We scarcely needed the conclusions of a recent research report by the University of Oxford to tell us that graduate students in countries like Finland or the Netherlands have, at least in my field, linguistics, long been writing their dissertations in English rather than in Finnish or Dutch. But at undergraduate as well as graduate and professional levels, more and more non-English speaking countries are making the decision to use what they are calling English as a medium of instruction (EMI). Idealistic professors suggest that this could lead to increased understanding between peoples of different countries. More realistic university officials with an eye on the bottom line believe that they are far more likely to be able to attract wealthy international students if their courses are in English rather than Greek or Danish. Interestingly, some countries are resisting the trend. Institutions in countries ranging from Israel to Senegal and from Italy to Venezuela are reportedly holding out against EMI in public education. One can easily sympathize. It seems unthinkable that languages such as Hebrew, French, Italian, or Spanish should cease to be considered appropriate for modern university instruction. Yet when you look at the figures for research publications in Hebrew rather than English, or the numbers of employment opportunities for graduates that require fluency in Italian rather than English, you can begin to see why the reasons for adopting EMI are so persuasive. From a linguistic point of view, nothing about the English language makes it especially suited to a global role. In fact, choosing English, with its frustrating spelling, its nearly 200 irregular verbs, and its complex pronunciation, looks like a choice made by a committee of fools. But it was not. The present status of English is simply a result of historical chance. Which language was spoken by the people who gained lasting political control in North America? Which language was spoken by the people who had temporary political dominance in all of Southern Asia and much of Africa? Which is the only language used officially for government purposes in more than 60 countries? Which has been chosen as the norm for all air traffic control conversations? A long succession of such accidents has put English so far ahead in the race for dominance in global communication that it can hardly even be called a race now. Some people talk as if Chinese was gaining on English. It is not, and it never will. A Tamil-speaking computer scientist explaining a problem to a Hungarian scientist at a Japanese-organized scientific meeting in Thailand will call on English, not Chinese. Nowhere in the world do we find significant numbers of non-Chinese speakers choosing Chinese as the medium for bridging language gaps. There are no signs of that changing. The growth of English is pushing ever larger numbers of small minority languages into extinction, and many linguists lament that. There are two sides to the issue, though. It saddens us linguists that so many grammatically fascinating and diverse languages in so many language families should be dying out, yet who are we to tell an African father, proud of raising his children to speak English, rather than the local dialect of his traditional village, that he is wrong? We cannot insist that children should be raised speaking some dying minority language unless we have jobs to offer them that they can do using those languages. People must make their language choices for themselves. If they are increasingly choosing to be educated in English, neither fans of linguistic diversity nor politicians taking pride in the national language have a right to refuse them. Personally, I would never have proposed making English a global language for education or anything else, and I think my life has been made poorer by the fact that because I speak English natively I have never had to become fluent in a foreign language. But nobody placed me on the committee to decide on the global language for education. There was no committee.